Today, I'm diving into some powerful techniques to help you master emotional agility. Life can sometimes feel like a roller coaster of emotions, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and unsure how to navigate the ups and downs. But what if I told you that there's a way to experience the full spectrum of human emotions without letting them control us? That's where emotional agility comes in. It's about learning to be present with our feelings, understanding the messages they carry, and choosing how we want to respond. Imagine this. You're going about your day, moving through the hustle and bustle of daily life, when suddenly you're blindsided by a wave of anxiety. It is as a result of what someone said, or it hits you out of nowhere, catching you completely off guard in its intensity. Your heart starts to race, your palms get sweaty, and your mind is flooded with worries. It's as if your body is reacting to an invisible threat. It feels like you're caught in a rip current, being pulled further and further out to sea. The more you struggle, the more overwhelming it becomes. In these moments, it's easy to get swept away by the intensity of what we're feeling. The emotions can feel all-consuming, leaving us feeling powerless. But what if, instead of letting our emotions dictate our actions, we took a step back and simply observed them? What if we could create a moment of pause? Think of it like watching a storm cloud pass by. You see it forming, you notice its presence, but you don't let it overwhelm you. You acknowledge its presence, you might even feel its effects, but you don't let it consume you. You understand that it's just a part of the natural ebb and flow of life. You know that it's temporary and that the sun will eventually break through again. The storm will pass and clarity will return. That's the essence of observing our emotions objectively. It's about recognizing that our feelings are transient and do not define us. It's about creating a little space between ourselves and our feelings so we can see them more clearly. This space allows us to respond rather than react. Instead of saying, "I'm anxious," we can shift our language to, "I'm experiencing anxiety." This subtle change helps us to see our emotions as temporary states rather than permanent conditions. This subtle shift in perspective can make a world of difference. It empowers us to take control of our narrative and our emotional well-being. When we detach ourselves from the immediacy of our emotions, we empower ourselves to make more conscious choices about how we want to respond. We can choose our actions with intention and clarity. We can choose courage over fear, connection over isolation, and ultimately, we can choose to show up in the world as our most authentic selves, even in the midst of discomfort. By observing our emotions objectively, we reclaim our power and navigate life with greater ease and resilience. We've all been there. That feeling of being overcome by a wave of emotion, yet struggling to put it into words. It's a universal experience, one that can leave us feeling isolated and misunderstood. Often we even label it incorrectly and react out of context. It's like trying to describe a color you've never seen before, or a taste you can't quite place. The frustration of not being able to articulate what you're feeling can be overwhelming. But here's the thing. Our emotions, as complex as they may seem, aren't random. They are deeply rooted in our experiences, our thoughts, and our interactions with the world around us. They're not these abstract forces that control us without reason. Each emotion we experience is a response to something specific, a signal that something within us needs attention. They're signals, messages from within, trying to tell us something important. Whether it's a need for connection, a boundary being crossed, or a moment of joy. Our emotions are there to guide us. The problem is, if we don't have the language to identify and understand these signals, we can't decipher their meaning. It's like trying to read a book in a language we don't understand. We're left feeling lost and overwhelmed, unsure of how to navigate the choppy waters of our inner world. This can lead to a sense of helplessness and confusion. That's where the power of labeling comes in. By naming our emotions, we start to make sense of them. We begin to see patterns and understand the triggers that set off certain feelings. When we take the time to name our emotions, to say, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling joyful, we bring them into focus. This act of naming is the first step towards understanding and managing our emotions. We give them form and definition, making them less intimidating and easier to manage. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, everything becomes clearer. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to assemble a piece of furniture without reading the instructions. The pieces are scattered, and you have no idea where to start. You might eventually figure it out, but it's going to be a lot more frustrating and time-consuming than if you simply took the time to understand the steps involved. The instructions provide a roadmap, a clear path to follow. Labeling our emotions is like reading the instruction manual for our inner world. It gives us the tools we need to navigate our feelings with confidence and clarity. It helps us understand the mechanics of how our feelings work so we can approach them with more clarity and compassion. This understanding allows us to respond to our emotions in a healthy and constructive way. And the more we practice this skill, the more fluent we become in the language of our emotions, allowing us to communicate our needs more effectively and build deeper connections with ourselves and others. This fluency in emotional language can transform our relationships and our overall well-being. By regularly practicing the art of labeling our emotions, we create a habit of self-awareness. This habit not only helps us in the moment, but also builds a foundation for long-term emotional health. So, next time you feel a wave of emotion, take a moment to pause and name it. It may be a deep-rooted fear, especially if it causes anger or frustration. Is that fear realistic? Whatever the emotion is, give yourself the gift of understanding and see how it transforms your inner world. Chapter 3. Reflecting to identify emotions. In the whirlwind of our daily lives, it's easy to get caught up in the doing, the achieving, the constant striving for, well, what exactly? We often find ourselves moving from one task to another, barely taking a moment to breathe, let alone reflect on what we're feeling or why we're feeling it. We rush from one task to the next, our minds racing, our to-do lists overflowing, rarely pausing to simply be present with ourselves. This constant state of busyness can leave us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from our own emotions. But amidst the chaos, there's a quiet power in carving out moments for reflection. Taking time to reflect allows us to reconnect with ourselves, to understand what we're truly feeling beneath the surface. Think of it like pressing pause on a movie. When we hit that button, the action freezes, giving us a chance to appreciate the details we might have missed while caught up in the storyline. When we pause, we can take a closer look at the scenes playing out in our lives. We can rewind, replay certain moments, and gain a deeper understanding of the characters and their motivations. We can rewind, replay certain scenes, and gain a deeper understanding of the characters and their motivations. This process of reflection helps us to see things from a different perspective, to understand the underlying emotions driving our actions. Reflection is like hitting the pause button on our own lives. It's an opportunity to step back from the busyness and turn our attention inward, to observe our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without judgment. It's an opportunity to step back from the busyness and turn our attention inward, to observe our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without judgment. In these moments of quiet contemplation, we can begin to notice the patterns in our emotional landscape. It's in these moments of quiet contemplation that we begin to notice the patterns in our emotional landscape. We start to see the connections between our experiences and our emotional responses. We might realize that certain situations or people tend to trigger specific feelings within us. These realizations can be powerful, offering us insights into our emotional triggers and helping us to understand why we react the way we do. Maybe we notice that we're more prone to anxiety in the mornings, when the day is just beginning and the list of tasks ahead feels overwhelming. Or perhaps we find that we feel a surge of joy when we spend time in nature, surrounded by the beauty and tranquility of the natural world. These insights, as subtle as they may seem, are invaluable. They provide us with a roadmap to understanding our emotional triggers, our vulnerabilities, and our strengths. By identifying and labeling our emotions, we can begin to navigate our lives with greater awareness and intention. They provide us with a roadmap to understanding our emotional triggers, our vulnerabilities, and our strengths. With this knowledge, we can start making more conscious choices about how we navigate the world around us. And with this knowledge, we can start making more conscious choices about how we navigate the world around us. We can choose to respond rather than react, to act with intention rather than out of habit. We can choose to set boundaries, to prioritize self-care, to create space for the things that truly matter to us. We can choose to seek out experiences that bring us joy and fulfillment, to engage in activities that nourish our souls and uplift our spirits. We can begin to curate a life that aligns with our values and supports our overall well-being. By reflecting on our emotions and understanding their origins, we can create a life that feels authentic and meaningful. Reflection is not just about looking back, it's also about looking forward. It's about using the insights we gain to chart a course for the future, to make choices that lead us towards a life of greater fulfillment and joy. By taking the time to reflect and understand our emotions, we empower ourselves to live more intentionally, to embrace our journey with confidence and clarity. In doing so, we find a sense of peace and contentment, knowing that we are living in alignment with our true selves. So, take a moment to pause, to reflect, and to connect with your emotions. It's a journey worth taking, one that leads to a deeper understanding of yourself and a more fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, mastering emotional agility is a journey, not a destination. It's about showing up for ourselves with curiosity and compassion, even when it feels difficult. As you continue to explore these techniques, be patient with yourself. Some days will feel easier than others, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep practicing, keep learning, and keep moving forward on the path towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life.